Okay.
Go ahead. Sure. All right. Jump ahead of you already. So. With Tyler on the verge of all these records, I mean, you've talked a lot about his work ethic, but when he arrived, did you envision this high of a ceiling for him and everything that he's been able to accomplish?
Well, I didn't make that kind of an assessment, which I haven't for anybody. It's just, same old stuff. You expect, the very best out of them, and you place no limitations on what their capacity is to be successful. So it's it's not a surprise at all by any stretch of the imagination. But I didn't project that like I don't project that for anybody, really, one way or the other.
Coach, in the senior class, it seems like there's more maybe walk-ons in this class, former walk-ons, than any I can recall. How would you classify, when you think back on this class, what will you take with you?
Well, I haven't reflected on, how I would assess the entire class. I think good young people, young guys that are committed to what we're about, committed to the program, committed to Kansas State, take pride in being here. Young guys that work extremely hard, guys that are very willing to sacrifice, guys that are, just possess those kind of values that are significant to our program.
Just walking in here a little bit ago, the trophy case was empty. Do you know where the Governor's Cup is?
The Governor's Cup is downstairs in the locker room.
Could you envision what it'd be like, getting up and coming here to the office and walking past that and not seeing that?
Haven't thought about it that way, no, which doesn't mean anything. Don't read into that. I'd hate for it to happen, I can assure you that. But they're going to blow this place up, so, I won't be in here Sunday morning anyway. So, so what you suggested can't happen.
Looking back through here, I think since '93, your team's about scored them 722 to 195. How do you keep your teams up for KU year after year and not taking them lightly, not taking this rivalry for granted?
Well, I would like to think that they respond to the consistency week in and week out, whether it's University of Kansas or any other team in our program. That you've heard me say so many times, and you've seen it happen week in and week out. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day if they prepare, as well as they can, play well, and that's always been our approach, no matter who the opponent is. To prepare the very best we can and play with great enthusiasm and great effort and great execution, and then you have, excellent opportunity to succeed. But if you don't, then you run the risk that somebody else did, and that's going to put you behind the 8 ball.
One other one. How many more Sunflower Showdowns do you think Bill Snyder has?
I don't know. I'll see every one of them that I can.
Hey, will you be on the sideline for any more of these?
Who knows?
Kind of touching off that preparation again, is this one of those games with KU situation that you really have to expect the unexpected and think they'll try to pull out about anything they can?
Well, again, it's not the University of Kansas. It's everybody. You always have to anticipate the unexpected. No matter who you line up and play against. Whether it's them or whoever. And if you don't, then you just set yourself up for problems.
Coach, just want to ask you quick, do you find yourself looking back at these games feeling like games have gotten longer, whether that be through media timeouts or with separate things I think I still have here that number of video reviews are up, and there's the time in between plays, scoring. There's been a lot of different things that have increased. Just to get your thoughts on that.
Well, you've heard me say the same thing. It's all relative to, what I've said about TV has taken over, college athletic, college football in particular, and they dictate the, to sell commercials, they dictate the, amount of time that you're standing around twiddling your thumbs, which is very extensive, yes. And so consequently, games have gotten longer. And there was a push not too long ago about shortening games, shorten all those breaks, then you have the game shortened, if it going the way it's going, we'll have 5-minute quarters and 20-minute commercials and 20 minutes of football.
Coach, do you see since Clint Bowen's taken over, do you see a kind of a rejuvenation, I guess, so to speak, with the players, and maybe playing with a little bit more purpose than they had in their first few games of the season?
Well, they talk to that effect, and and I certainly trust whatever they would say, and the players seem to be responsive to the staff as it is now in Clint, and I've seen the Oklahoma game was just a different game, but I've seen I've seen them make a great deal of progress, and I've seen them be they talk about being resilient after the Oklahoma loss, but you go back to when they beat Iowa State and they'd come off of a major loss to University of Baylor, and came right back and played so well against Iowa State. So I would suggest what you say is accurate.
And looking at what Oklahoma was able to do on the ground against Kansas last week, does that provide maybe a sense of confidence for this this running attack that you have that has kind of lacked production the past couple of weeks?
Well, I think you develop confidence, in practice, and executing well in practice and doing it, with effort and all that goes along with it. I think that's the biggest thing. I think what the Oklahoma situation could do, in many cases, it could provide overconfidence to a player or a group of players, and that would put us in dire jeopardy. I can assure you that. And so that's something that I would hope that our players wouldn't fall into that trap.
I guess after looking at the film of the West Virginia game, what to you was most frustrating about the run game struggles?
Well, just that we were ineffective with it, for the most part. We made a lot of mistakes, a lot of execution problems, getting the right things on the field. And as I said after the ball game, West Virginia had a lot to do with that. They defended us well, and as I've said so many times, you can take away, I don't care who you are, you can take away the run or you can take away the pass. Normally when you take something away, you probably give something up, and that allowed us to have some big plays in the ball game, which, were instrumental in the outcome. So.
How much tougher does that make it on guys like Jake Waters and Tyler Lockett when there's not as much of a threat of a run game to do what they did?
Well, like I said, it's dependent upon the defense. If the defense just lines up and plays and you can't run the football, then it puts a great deal of, if you're playing your defense, which is structured to try to defend both, then, it probably makes it a little bit harder. But if you put all your marbles in one basket, probably makes it a little bit easier, which was the case on Thursday, when we played. Yeah.
Do you find yourself having to say very much about this game, about this rivalry, about the circumstances, about where your team currently sits with your players? Why wouldn't you be up for the final game of your career here at home and with the Big 12 on the line, those kinds of things?
Well, it's about you know, again, right or wrong, it's about being consistent. You know, I try not to be any different than, if I was different in this ball game than I might have been in others, then I probably didn't do my job as it relates to other preparations that we made. You know, it's that old adage, one you're going to play is the most important game you'll play, and that's true, you know, this week. And but it was true last week and the week before, and we try to prepare, and I try to, you know, be the same person.
What is it like being in this moment? I mean, 11th in the country in late November, and being able to see this team be able to progress, I guess, to this point in this season. Any sort of specialness to what you've seen in this journey?
Well, I'm proud of the young guys in our program. You know, I'm proud of them, and the vast majority of them are, you know, truly invested in what they're doing and how they're going about doing it, and I admire them for that. You know, aside from that, you know, we're still in the season, so it's, you know, there isn't any real reflection on, you know, what led up to this point.
Coach, excuse me, you've spent a lot of hours in this building and over the years, and you were here for when it was first built and the renovations and everything. I was just curious, you know, what has this building meant to you, and will you miss it?
I'm quite certain I will, and I've tried very hard not to invest in that line of thinking, and I am upset with you for asking the question because it, you know, it does, and I know it'll be emotional, you know, and I try to avoid it right now.
Coach, when you talk about KU, I mean, you've seen guys like Kevin White and really good receivers all year. Does Jermaine Mundine give or present something different than, granted he's a tight end, but what's the challenge in handling him maybe compared to some other guys that you've had to deal with?
Well, and he's not alone. I mean, they have, you know, perimeter people and running backs. They have some skilled, you know, young guys that can run, guys that have some range to them as receivers, guys that can make you miss and have good change of direction capabilities. Their running backs are good change of direction guys, and, you know, have great quickness to them. So, you know, what problems does it present? You know, the obvious, obviously, but you know, one of the things that we have to be extremely adept at is that open field tackling, because, you know, they're going to get the ball in the open field some, and they've got that good change of direction. They make people miss a lot.
You've usually, in the past, tried to schedule around Thanksgiving, and I know it's become pretty much impossible anymore, but the fact that you're playing KU that week, is that a good time for that game, given the circumstances, the fact that you're playing an in-state team? I know, again, next year, that weekend, is that?
Well, I think being at home is probably, certainly, if you have to do it, being at home is, you know, is the ideal place. I'd hate to be on the road, you know, and have to come in the night before, etc. You know, because it's a special holiday, and it's one that carries a great deal of meaning with, you know, the vast majority of families. And you know, unfortunately, I mean, I'm not, you know, there's a long history that goes with playing ball games on Thanksgiving. I'm not a fan of it, but I understand it. It's just that, you know, it's you know, it takes away from that family time for, you know, certainly for your players and even for your coaches, you know, as well. So it's easier for the coaches because they have family here, so they can, you know, schedule a few, you know, you give them a few extra hours. But yeah, I prefer not to, but if you have to, home would be the best.
Even on the road with KU, at least being closer, does that help a little bit?
Well, not really, because you're traveling the day before. I mean, our deal would be, you know, to have the opportunity to practice early on, because we have to practice on Thursday, so you'd practice early on Thursday and let your players who are close by have an opportunity to get home Thursday afternoon for some Thanksgiving time with their families. And many of our players I admire and appreciate so much because they will take teammates who are from a distance home with them. So